Anonymous played a critical role in the leaks involved in the Steubenville, Ohio case. Now, for those of you who don't have a lot of information on that particular story, we do have a video. Let's take a quick look at that, and I'll give you more context.
A 26-year-old Kentucky man has revealed that his home was the subject of an aggressive raid by a group of FBI agents just last month. This is in connection with the anonymous hack that helped publicize key social media events in the Steubenville rape case. His name is Deric Lostutter, also known by his screen name KYAnonymous, and he told the Huffington Post over the phone that on April 15th, FBI agents raided the Winchester, Kentucky house he shares with his girlfriend and his brother. He said he was told he could face jail time if he let the story get out.
Now, just to give you guys some more information on this case, Lostutter hacked into the website Roll Red Roll and the webmaster's email account, and he did leak some personal emails that webmaster was sending out. And it was important in terms of prosecuting the two rapists in this case. The part of this story that's particularly egregious is this anonymous member is facing 10 years in prison because of what he did, but the two rapists in this case have already been sentenced to 1 and 2 years in a youth facility. So, I mean, is justice really served here? I don't know. Let's bring in Sarah so you can share what you think.
You know, I am deeply uncomfortable with the idea that Lostutter would have to face more time than these two jackass kids in Steubenville. At the same time, I also worry about vigilante justice. I worry about what happens when we take the law into our own hands. Sometimes great things happen. I think this was a good outcome, right? But what if these young men had been unfairly maligned? What if in another world, you know, they hadn't done it, and yet there had been arrows pointing to yes when in fact the answer was no? I know it sounds like I'm hedging, which I am. This is a very much a non-answer, but I like what Anonymous does, but at the same time it makes me a bit nervous because although they seem to be on the side of good, what happens when somebody in that organization flips and makes the wrong decision? What happens when they go after and vilify the wrong person?
The same thing about the government and all the surveillance that they capture on people.
No, I actually don't think that was a non-answer. I think that was an appropriate answer because I think the issue is much more complex than, it's not black and white. You can't either say like, I'm 100% supportive because you know that there could be an abuse of power. And this is an example of them using vigilante justice in a good way. But I do worry about someone who goes rogue and, you know, hacks into, I don't know, someone else's, like some, you know, innocent person's email and outs them for something that, you know, might be salacious.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm reminded of back in, I think it was '96, the Olympic bombing, right? When everybody went after this guy, Richard Jewell, who was a security guard, and everybody was so sure that this was the guy, and people were going through his garbage and going through his mail and also putting this guy through hell. And it turns out, of course, you know, it wasn't his fault. He wasn't at fault. That made a deep impression on me because of just the shame and the fear that as a society we brought into this man's life, and I worry that could happen with Anonymous, that they could make a wrong move, that they could, you know, point the finger at the wrong guy, and something like that could happen again.
Of course they could make the wrong move. I mean, I think that those are all fair questions to ask, but, and by the way, I mean, from what I understand, Lostutter hasn't actually been charged yet, right?
He hasn't.
These are things that he might possibly face, but I think that raises a lot of questions about our priorities, especially within our justice system. We know that this Justice Department has pursued those that have, you know, violated certain computer laws that are on the books. They've pursued them very aggressively. And you look at Aaron Swartz, right, and what they did with him. And so that to me is the danger. With Lostutter's case, he hasn't actually been charged yet. We don't know if that's happening. Sure, you can say that these two kids were juveniles, which is why they only received 1 and 2 year sentences. There's a lot of nuance to this particular story with the Steubenville rape case, but but as we go forward, I think that we're obviously going to see a lot more people that are hackers. We're going to see a lot more people breaking some of these computer laws. And so how is our Justice Department going to approach that? Is Congress going to update some of these laws that have been on the books since 1984? Right? And you think of the advances in technology that have been made with the, if I'm talking about the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in particular. So those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. But it's also interesting because public opinion can be very split on something like this, right?
Definitely.
Rape is indefensible, so people are supporting what Lostutter did. but is that always going to be the case?
And another point that I'd like to make is a lot of times people think of Anonymous as a group of people, like an organization, but it's a collective. So there are no rules. Like, it's not like people get together and they're like, okay, here are the ground rules. Okay, we don't hack into the accounts of these people and we don't do the. No, it's just a loose collective of individuals who want to fight any sort of injustice that they see in the country. But there's really no way of figuring out what their morality is.
And there's no accountability. They don't have voters and they don't have shareholders. Now, I would like to say I absolutely love them. I don't want them to take down my website.
I mean,
I'm
been
very
supportive of them
worried
too,
about what we've been doing here because I think that the point is going to be taken off the face of the internet. But no, I think. So the big fear, obviously, and I've felt this fear because up until this point, I don't know that I've seen Anonymous do something that I didn't agree with, but inevitably it's going to happen. Now, when they make their misstep or they get some information on someone, it turns out that they were innocent. Theoretically, that should not be a problem because the media and reporters should do the necessary investigations to determine if it's true before they trumpet it on both mainstream news and also on the internet. But the problem is that we don't have a responsible media that'll do that. They want to beat BuzzFeed. They want to get it out as fast as possible. And so when Anonymous does make a misstep, when they do frame someone who's innocent, inevitably, because there's no accountability, I fear that it will do a lot of damage because we don't have the media we need to check Anonymous's power.